Hey, what's up? Sean Cannell here, and this is Think Media, bringing you the best tips and tools for building your influence with online video. And on this channel, we do a lot of tech gear reviews as well as strategy videos on how to build your influence with social media. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. But hey, we're starting a 4-part series where we're going to be going through how to shoot a great YouTube video with a DSLR or a mirrorless camera like the Canon M50 or the SL2. I'm going to be talking about how to shoot thumbnails and go from shooting the photos to editing them, then how to edit the video and then also upload it. So we're going to take you concept to completion of creating YouTube content. So let's just dive into it right now with the gear we're going to use to create this video. So for the first part, let's get started with the exact gear we're using. And actually, we just put together a brand new guide that you can grab at thinkgearguide.com, where we'll list out everything. I'll link to that in the description. But our main camera for this shoot is the Canon M50. And the reason I love this camera is because at around $600 with the kit lens, it's really the best all-around camera for YouTube, in my opinion, still. I mean, with the flip screen and the mic input, and we'll talk about some of those things. But in the gear guide, we cover all types of different cameras for different budgets, so definitely check that out. But for the gear we're using, we've got the camera. The main lens I'm going to be using for the video I'm creating for my other channel, Sean Thinks, is the 11 to 22 lens because it's wide, really good for small and tight shots to get a really wide shot, and good for vlogging. Using a Tascar shotgun mic right on top here. A little bit later in the shoot, we'll use this Boya mic. And then I also have the kit lens. We're not really going to be using that today, but we are going to be using our 22mm pancake lens a little bit later on for a nice crispy shot with a blurry background. And then finally, I've got a K&F Concept tripod here that I'm going to be using because I'm going to be creating this video as a solo creator, like many of us are in the Think community, right? And so this is the full kit. I've got an SD card in there, and all together, you could pick all this up for a little bit under $1,000. You don't need all of this to get started, but these are sort of like the ultimate kit, I think, to create some killer YouTube videos. So we're gonna start in just a second, but now let's talk about the settings before we start shooting. All right, now go ahead and grab your camera, no matter what camera you have to follow along, but if you've got your M50, grab it. And normally when you get started shooting video, you'd probably pick video mode on the top of the camera, and that's a great way to start. When you do that, you can actually go into that video mode and you can put it on auto exposure. If you want the fastest way to get your camera set up and running, auto exposure is going to be auto everything. It might not look the best in some motion, in some situations, but it's really nice. Now you could also do manual, and we love manual, and if you want every single detail to be adjusted, that's a great option too. But we've kind of figured out a hybrid mode for a simple way to do auto, and we'll show you what that is. So we're actually going to start with TV on the top, which is shutter priority. And you can look that up for your camera. When it's in shutter priority, that allows us to prioritize what will make the video look the best. So let's talk about it. In shutter priority, what we're going to do is hit the Q, and we'll go through our settings. Now, first of all, we're going to do auto white balance just so it's quick and fast. We're then going to do auto picture style, just so the colors look nice. If we were going to color grade later, I would shoot on neutral, but because we want this to be a quick edit and export, drop it on YouTube, we just going to have auto white balance, auto on that picture profile. And then I'm going to choose an autofocus mode of my face, at least initially when I'm vlogging and I'm on camera. I'm going to be shooting a video for my Sean Cannell channel of a home office tour. And so when I'm on camera, I'll do the face focus. And then when I'm shooting room shots, I can do kind of zone focus and tap certain areas. But then the biggest thing here now is our frame rate. And so if you want 24 frames a second, which is kind of a film look, you could choose that. If you want more slow motion or faster, if you're doing sports or something, you can do 60 frames. But typically I shoot at 29.97 or 30 frames a second. Now, once you pick your frame rate, and so pick 29 frames a second, 1080p is perfect, is then your shutter follows the 180-degree rule, which means if you're shooting 30 frames a second, you want your shutter speed at 60. If you were shooting 24 frames a second, you want your shutter speed at 50. Again, it's double whatever your frame rate is. And so the cool thing about shutter priority is it's going to always keep our shutter at 60. Therefore, the motion will always look good in the video. And then finally, we're going to go over to ISO here and actually put it on auto. So that way, the camera will adjust the lighting brighter or darker accordingly. Now, the final thing to note here is that this lens is, we're picking it because we're shooting these wide room shots and it's really good for vlogging. It's the 11 to 22 Canon lens. But because the aperture is f4, it's a little bit dark. So the ISO might go up a little bit high, but we're just gonna live with that. I mean, it is what it is, and ISO is where we're gonna get that lighting. And here's what I mean, is that if you want your video quality to look the best, you probably don't want to go over ISO 400 or 800 on this camera. If you want to just kind of vlog and take people with you and you don't have extra lighting, well then it might go higher and it's just going to affect the image quality. One thing to remember about ISO is that lower is going to be not as much light being let in, but it's going to be a better image quality if you can get enough light or you can shoot outdoors. The higher you go, the more grainy the image is and the more it falls apart. So sometimes you need to go higher to get the light, but keeping it as low as possible will keep your image quality as high as possible. And with that, we're ready to shoot. Okay, so I'm about to get started doing my home office tour shoot here, but let's talk about the mic settings last. Now, because I'm going to be vlogging like this shotgun mic is perfect. It's a $25 shotgun mic, and here's one setting that I love on it, is it has a plus 10 dB. Now, some mics have plus 20, but a lot of times that's too much, and it'll make the audio too loud, but plus 10 is perfect. So I actually have the mic on. I've got just the high pass filter, just at normal, and then